next year they start at that level. If an override was approved, would that mean the following year that say $400,000 override would automatically be added to the start of their budget?
No, the initial override that you vote on is specified. The following year, it's simply part of the tax rate and comes into the general pot again. Then hopefully, the powers that be would give due consideration that that portion of the tax rate was an override of so many dollars for school use. But does it have to be used in future years for school use? Not necessarily, only the initial year of the override vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Pasquale, Mr. Baker.
I favor what Mr. Smith is saying, that you ought to have another meeting, because I intend to be at the school committee tomorrow night. One of the prime reasons is this has been dated today, and everything is cast in stone in this town, and this warrant. Normally, when they have their budget reviews for the school, they send something out at least 2 weeks prior to having that meeting, and it didn't come out this year. So, Mr. Pasquale, I went down to St. Teresa's and I prayed today St. Joseph, and there's no way that $400,000 are they going to be able to cut by Wednesday morning. And I just quote what most people are reading here on page 3 that Mr. Lowe, but I thought he was going to go to the paragraph. It just said, could create a condition requiring operating budget override. That's just like an original sin mentioning an override around here without you fellas discussing it. So I favor what Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith are saying. Please, get together, because you're going to get down there, and it's going to be just like the last town meeting, right? I didn't know how you were going to vote. I go up there and say, let's get this thing going this way, and somebody did something 20 minutes before. When you're talking override in this town, you're all going to be in a room, because this board is noting as 3-2, and I'll tell you, the school committee, after I get in their heads, is 3-2. They're not all in favor of this budget. So, please, listen to me and listen
Again,
to me.
as I stated earlier, I anticipate that the meeting is going to take place.
Yeah, but don't anticipate. Take some leadership and demand that it takes place.
Again, you know, again, they're a separately elected board. We're certainly going to be meeting and discussing it. We want to have a meeting with them. We will be in deliberations at a subcommittee level Wednesday morning. And again, you're right, they're not going to have anything determined after tomorrow night other than some more input. But I mean, they're not going to be beat before that, be able to beat before that. But again, I do anticipate that the boards will be meeting prior to town meeting to discuss financial situation of the community prior to town meeting. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I think Mr. Reitmeyer's point was about an override. Once an override goes onto the budget, as Mr. Jones pointed out several times in the Finance Committee, once that goes on, it stays on unless an underride vote takes place. And Mr. Jones, I think there haven't been any underride
Well,
votes.
in North Reading, we've never had an override, so we've never needed an override.
Right, but I think you said statewide, you
Based on
said
the other great unwashed towns out there, they have had overrides.
great unwashed.
The underrides are minuscule.
We have none.
Thank you.
God bless. Mr. Younger?
I have penciled in just in case March 29th.
And I know the town administrator is in constant contact with the superintendent also. Yeah. Any other questions or comments in relation to the operating budget? Again, those things that come under our care, custody, and control seems to be in control. Mr. Bagan?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but looking at the calendar, if you go to March 29th, it doesn't get into the paper.
No, but at least it gets us on the same page.
Well, I think the community needs to know about it. God knows we can go to the meeting and still come out not knowing.
Even if we have it Wednesday, I don't know if we have time, unless we go Tuesday.
I believe they have a meeting on the 26th.
Again, I think we have to wait. I think the school committee is going to be driving the timetable in relation to whenever they're going to be meeting and formulating their final recommendations. And again, we don't have any say or control over that. If it can be done more expeditiously, we'll attempt to do so. If it can't,
Could we pencil in the 27th?
I would suggest that the members of the board just draw a pencil mark and put a little check on all your dates from this day forward, that you may get a call that we're gonna be meeting. I mean, it's,
Well, the other thing is, my point is, I agree with Mr. Payne, we should try to do it so that we get it paid. So that the people know, so that at least they have a little bit of advance warning as to what's, although I'm sure they know everything's possible, but at least.
again, what I will suggest is that when we'll talk with the superintendent tomorrow. We'll be talking with the members of the school committee, the chairman, the superintendent, and business manager on Wednesday morning. We'll try and set a timetable, again, as soon as possible, to allow for the general masses to either consume it through the newspaper, through the other mediums that are available prior to town meeting, if it's possible. I don't disagree that we should do everything we can as soon as we can. But then again, we're only one half of the equation, or 1/3 of the equation. But the finance committee and the school committee schedules to contend with also. So, any other questions or comments in relation to the operating budget? Other than it would be interesting. Yeah, Mr. Younger.
I penciled in March 27th also.
Have you? Yeah, by the way, no vacations for you for the next few weeks.
Double star.
Only because I think they're meeting March 26th.
Right.
Right,
So I don't think they could be available the 26th.
right. Okay. Article 10, appropriate money to the stabilization fund. I think we're all in favor of that, aren't we, Mr. Jones?
Highly in
Would we like to do that?
Mr. Gallagher, you answer?
So, again, if funds available,
We're definitely in favor of that.
I would guess so. We just don't know how much yet. Huh?
That's a last-minute decision.
That is a last-minute decision that's generally made at town meeting floor, as to whatever funds are available. After town meeting is through taking its actions, then usually we have an idea as to what would be available. And we've been known at times to postpone consideration of this article till after consideration of others also. This may be a situation where it may come out of order.
I think it should be noted, though, that that is an article that there should be money appropriated for, because in the past, we have been drawing that down, and we're way down below where we should be.
But again, in order to get the money out of stabilization, it'll take a 2/3 vote? 2/3 vote. So, I mean, any funds that are expended out of stabilization requires a 2/3 vote at town meeting, which is one of the reasons why we try and put it in there, because it takes a little bit more than a majority to get at it, so.
But taking it out of order is what, 5, 6, no?
No, it could be a simple majority if we make the motion and then move to postpone further consideration until after. So it depends on how it's handled parliamentary-wise.
Your department.
Okay. Conservation revolving fund, reauthorize it. Mr. Young, you want to just...
That's actually Articles 11 through 13, the routine reauthorization of revolving funds for 3 different departments. Currently in the Conservation Revolving Fund, as of February 28th, there's approximately $52,600. In that account, the maximum you can expend out of that is $100,000.
All right, so explanation's the same as far as the dollars amounts available in the Parks and Recreation and Recycling?
Parks and Recreation, slightly different explanation. They have almost $55,000 in that account as of February 28th. The maximum that they can expend out of it is $200,000. Well, obviously, we're not at that figure.
In Recycling?
Article 13 is a much more conservative account. There's approximately $3,300 in that account as of February 28th. Their maximum expenditure is $2,000.
This is just the reauthorization of the revolving fund accounts. And again, in order to set these up, it took an act of the legislature, I believe, an act of town meeting, home rule petition, requesting the legislature to set them up, which they did. It's just a reauthorization. Any comments or questions in regard to those? Article 14, Fund Cultural Council Concert Series.
Okay. That's the annual $1,600 appropriation to the North Reading Cultural, to fund the Cultural Council Series. Concert Series, the board has been supportive of it in the past number of years. There are funds available for the program. Next year, I'm going to try to bring that program under our auspices under committee expenses, so we can bring it under there without having a separate article for it to be funded. But this year, it's still a separate article.
Mr. Stringer, would you like to comment?
I'd just like to mention that the concert series has been popular in the last 2 or 3 years we've had it, and definitely appreciate the funds that the town can support that band.
I know the Finance Committee also wants to weigh in a little bit on this too. Mr.
Well,
Jones?
just to make the comment, we've approved this $1,600 for free cash. This is the 3rd year that it's been done, and it looks like an ongoing annual cost, so this would be the last year that we would approve it as a separate warrant article, feeling it should be folded into the operating budget and probably under the TA's administrative sheet.
That's what I was gonna ask. Because I thought he had mentioned it at one of our other budget meetings, that they wanted to change that.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments in relation to Article 14? Article 15, amend the property reval.
Mr. Simmons is here for any specific questions, but the bids came in $8,000 over what we had appropriated. So what this is to do is get the additional $8,000 for the reval proposals. They came in at approximately exactly $89,600.
I'm sorry?
$89,600, and we had appropriated $82,000.
And as far as funding in this one, Mr. Jones, we're talking about,
I'm assuming the overlay account.
right? Okay. How many bidders do we have, Mr. Simmons?
We had 2 bidders.
2 bidders? Is that unusual?
Most of the time, we have 1 bidder. This time, we did have a little bit of competition.
It's 100% improvement. It's 100% improvement. I think when we were talking about doing this is that we were hoping that we would have more people participate.
We were hoping we would have more, and we did have more. We were hoping we would get a lower price. I can't say emphatically that we have, but I would assume that if we went out in the spring looking for the same, going out to RFP in the spring, we would have even higher prices still than we got in for bids this time.
Mr. Smith?
When do you anticipate having this reval completed by?
Late summer.
Late summer. So we appropriated the money last October, and we were talking,
Then they-
do it through the winter because it would be cheaper?
Yes, and that's what we've done. We sent out the contract already, and they're going to be starting work later on this month on the reval,
Okay. So it'll be done by midsummer?
mid to late summer.
And those valuations will get back to January of what year?
Be January 1st of this year. We've had this discussion before.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Mr. Reitmeyer?
Yes, Mr. Simmons, will that be actual physical visits to the property? or
No.
This is in-house?
No, this isn't an update. It's not in-house. It's being done by a private vendor. But we're not actually visiting. We're doing exterior reviews of all the properties in town, but we're not visiting each one and going in, trying to get into each one. That would be a total measurement list, and that would be a lot more money.
We are due for that, though, in a couple of years.
We are due for that technically, but I am trying to put that time frame off another 3 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Mr. Haas?
If that revalue comes in, that increase, does that get added to this year's taxable, spendable money?
The revaluation is for the valuation of real estate only, and it has nothing to do with taxation. It's the allocation of taxation that we're trying to affect.
Any other questions or comments in relation to it? So we're delivering it, how much? Was it $8,000?
$8,000 more.
$8,000 more. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you.
Article 16, you can be dismissed as soon as we're done, as soon as we're done. Go get some rest. Schematic designs for renovations to the middle and high school. Again, what this was, the request of the school committee to have it placed on the April town meeting warrant.